again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Wednesday, April 23rd edition of the Daily Pulse, which, by the way, we are recording at an ungodly hour of the morning. Only crazy people and radio hosts get up this early in the morning. That's probably the last time I've been up this early to do any kind of broadcasting. But I'm excited today to welcome my guests here into the WellPoint Studios. You know the guy on the left of your screen over there, the left of your monitor. He is the former Lowell City Councilor, former Lowell Mayor, former headmaster of the school, former WCAP pundit, but now he is a current Inside Lowell Daily Pulse guest on Wednesdays. Our guest host, Bill Samaras, is here.
Good morning at this ungodly hour.
Yes, I do agree. I gave you the choice not to come in. You said you wanted to come in.
Well, I wanted to talk to Kim, but the thing is, I hope you appreciate that.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
And over to the right of your monitor, the reason we're here at this ungodly hour.
You make me feel a little bad here.
Lowell City Councilor Kim Scott, who has a real job that actually pays the bill. The stipend does not pay the bills.
No, it doesn't. No.
All right.
No.
And you have to go. It might be school vacation week, but you have to go to work.
Yes, I do. Yeah, and many meetings in the evenings. So,
right.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you at least agreeing to do this. Absolutely. Because we want to get you on. I was able to Monday get Councilor Robinson on because it was a holiday for him, and he works for the town of Tingsboro.
I didn't think of that. I could have come on Monday.
But I had already locked him in for the 10 o'clock slot. I should have just gotten you both at the same time. But actually, this works out great because you guys had one of those sneaky, interesting city council meetings last night. So we got a lot to talk about with Councilor Scott and former Councilor Bill Samaras. Let me just quickly thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. You can find them online at realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thanks to WellPoint, thanks to Ray. We got some other sponsors we're going to thank as well in a few minutes, but let's get right down to it. And what, to me personally, was by far the most interesting part of the meeting last night, the discussion of the Lord Overpass. Now, I've dubbed it the Big Phil, and the fact that one city councilor listened to the Daily Pulse, watched the Daily Pulse from yesterday, and actually threw my suggestion out there on the floor. City Councilor John Dakota said, can we take that bus lane, which the bus drivers apparently have no desire to use, no matter what we do to make it easier for them, and just turn it into a high speed lane, like a traffic lane, HOV lane, like they use in Boston on the expressway in and out of the city there. So what do you think? Good idea?
Depends on what the traffic engineer says. So I guess how much work. She said it would have to reconfigure the intersections. So I don't know exactly how it's laid out right now that they, with the lights and everything like that. So, but I mean, I think it's an interesting idea.
The bus, so the way I believe it was set up, the buses can go up there and, either they can cut all the way straight through and head from, let's say if they're coming from downtown, go from Dutton and Fletcher towards the Gallagher terminal, or the other way, vice versa. But there are some stops along the way that would necessitate them taking a left or right turn onto Middlesex and Westford, Chelmsford, Appleton, etc. I'm going to guess that everything else is frozen if those buses are going through so that they can take the turn. Maybe I should have brought the traffic engineer here with you as well.
No, you're right. I mean, it should already be set up to work that way, right? I mean, for it to be a usable lane. So, I mean, she said she's going to look at it. I don't know whether or not it's allowed, like if there's grants that are tied to them making it a bus lane.
There are so many rules and regulations that you have to abide by, and that's what she has to do.
She seemed open to it, though.
Yeah.
She did seem.
It can still be a dedicated bus, and so buses use this lane, but since you're not going to, let's move other vehicles through there as well.
But Councilor Scott brought in a good point. Of the traffic engineers, she seems more amenable to listening to what the council wants to see rather than just quote the state doesn't allow us to do this, doesn't allow us to do that.
She's done a really great job.
Yeah,
She really
I think
has.
so, because
You know, and it hasn't happened necessarily quick, and you know the speed of government can be kind
Right.
of slow, but she definitely has taken everything that we've brought over the last couple of years, and she's really making it happen right now. So the speed bumps and the traffic calming and
well, when I was in, speed bumps it's never going to happen.
Right,
Well, the
right.
fire department doesn't want this. Someone doesn't.
and she
want
met with
whatever.
them, and she has actually a whole map of the city of streets that are off limits for speed bumps too.
Yeah,
Like for whether the fire department said these won't work or whatever. So
but that's the way it should. That's the way government should work.
Yeah, I was curious about the speed bump discussion because to me that becomes an issue. How do you, when the snow comes and the plows start putting them down, how do those speed bumps survive? Are you gonna have to put them down every spring through the
these
fall?
are
or-
permanent speed bumps.
So how do those work? Do they develop potholes and deteriorate like the roads do, or
I don't know.
Well, the thing is, if you look out at Tewksbury, where they have all the fields,
Livingston? Yeah.
Livingston.
Livingston
yeah.
Field, they've had the speed bumps there for a
Yeah.
long time. And the thing is, the plow drivers do know where they are, and they work appropriately.
Yeah, and they incorporated them into the paving contract. So when new streets are paved, they're part of the contract. They don't cost additional money to put them in.
So is that something we're gonna see, these traffic calming measures
this
as speed bumps
third-
in wherever it's allowed? You can't put them on a state road, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I don't
No.
believe so. So there's 30 of them that are going in this summer.
Yeah.
30 additional. They did three permanent ones this past year just as a trial. And now there's 30 going in.
But
There's about 8 going in my district. So.
it seems to me the roads that need them though are all state road, right? Bridge Street is a state
No.
road, 38. Rogers Street, 38. Andover Street, 133. Route 3A out in
Right, they
heading to
definitely
South
could
Lowell.
use traffic calming. I mean, I live on Woburn Street, so I know that.
Right.
I mean, it's
It's a
horrible.
different
But
type
these are
of
the cut-through
approach.
streets off of those roads that people,
cut
just trying to
throughs.
get from point A to point B. Andrews Street, my district, Chrisman Ave, Jean Ave, the streets over by the highway where people are just trying to cut across.
But
Billerica
it
Street.
gives you an answer to people who are complaining about the cut throughs.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Before you couldn't just assign a cruiser there all the time.
Right, and this kind of gets this animosity, like, why aren't the police there? Well, the police can't be on every street in the
That's
city
right.
for.
Yeah, they need to be on Fletcher and Dutton so they could ticket everybody who blocks the bus.
Yeah.
And they could pay for
Load
it to hire
overpass. They need to be
10
in the
more
load
traffic
overpass.
patrol officers. Before I leave the Lord Overpass thing, is there a way to compel the LRTA bus drivers to use them just to shut people like me up? They say, like, in the report from the traffic engineer, she says we've talked to them, we've talked to the LRTA, but the drivers, there it is highlighted in yellow, the drivers do not find them efficient enough, even with the changes made. Would they find them efficient enough if their boss has said, no, you're going to take these buses there, or you're not going to drive this bus?
I don't think I'd be compelled to make them use them if it's not faster. If it's slower, then
Well,
you have to fix the problem, I guess, right?
How can it be slower? They get a dedicated light cycle and there's never any traffic. I see them sitting in traffic with the rest of us. Do they want to be staring at my angry face?
And the other thing I've seen though is people take a left in front of the lane with the light still red, like green, when they have a green light at Fletcher. That Fletcher intersection seems to be a real problem.
Yeah, because the people are backed up on Fletcher. And even the mayor, who I have tons of battles with this, he tells me I'm dead wrong. And I'm like, I'm telling you, he goes, I drive there every day.
I do too. And I said, I don't have any issues usually.
But if you're coming down Fletcher from, North Campus or wherever else, you try to come down Fletcher rush hour in the morning and
the
get
issue.
across there. And that ends up backing up. That's where you start getting the blocked intersections.
but I've also found, though, people have been challenged by the buses and are concerned about the buses being in their own travel lane, because these bus drivers, if they're making up time, well, they're a little pushy. I haven't found the busing up. I've seen people have called and have been intimidated by bus drivers.
All right.
That's an issue someday that
They can be aggressive.
should be
at
looked
times.
at.
I've seen them run a stop sign on Worthen Street. trying to get through the
I've seen him
intersection.
try to run some people.
It's so, all right. I thank you for allowing me to scratch that traffic itch. We can get to the real
Quality,
serious
yeah.
stuff with Lowell City Councilor Kim Scott, former Mayor Bill Samaras. They're joining us here on the Daily Pulse on this Wednesday, April 23rd edition of the Pulse. Let me quickly thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Find them online, realestaterayBooten.com. WellPoint, at WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Prevention Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all our hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. The Pirates play Sunday at home. Yesterday, we dropped the latest Inside the Pirates podcast. Get a chance to introduce you to defensive back Marcus Floyd. No introduction necessary for my two guests on the Daily Pulse here. Bill Samaras to your left, Kim Scott to your right. All right, the manager's contract was on the agenda last night. That one got a little bit interesting. And because of the way the discussion was framed both before the meeting and during the meeting, should that have gone to executive session first, as City Councilor Corey Robinson said when he was here on Monday?
I didn't think it was necessary. We had already voted last time to have the mayor negotiate the extension. The support was there for the extension. So that was what we were doing last night, was voting for it. So
you've served on a council. Would you have liked to have had some input into the negotiation behind closed doors?
That's appropriately the way the council has handled all of those matters in the past.
yeah. And there were no terms that changed in the contract other than extending the, there wasn't an added vacation or added, there weren't changes that were happening.
And that was something
they were aware of what the contract is.
Yeah.
I delved into it, and there was some speculation that he might be getting raises or COLA increases or merit increases based on what department heads had gotten. And we know that department heads got some significant increases to try to catch them up with
Some
surrounding communities.
wage
But
increase.
as I read it, and I'm not a contract expert, I only play one on podcasts, it looks like he got what the typical city employee is getting, right, which is about 2.75 COLA. And then when I did the math from his first contract, it looked like maybe another 1.5% per year
Right.
on a merit increase, which
Which is the
4.25
typical, typical increase for a city employee. I'm a city
for
another
all
town,
city
but
employees, right?
Yeah.
Managers can sometimes in surrounding communities get bigger bumps than that, don't they?
Correct.
Yeah,
Than
they
their
can.
employees?
Yeah.
So to me, there was a little bit of a concession there, although that was the same, as you pointed out, that was the same deal for the first 3 years of the manager's
I mean,
contract, right?
he has a very good contract. I mean, but the truth of the matter is that Manager Golden enjoys doing his job, right? He loves his job. This man gives 100% every single day. If you call him, he's someplace on Sunday morning at a field, checking something out.
Every weekend.
Every
literally.
weekend. He is 24/7 on duty. And I was happy to support his contract. I think he deserves it. I think it was a sign of supporting him. The other thing that I don't think is talked about enough is that when I started on the council, we had, I think, like 80 open positions. I don't know the exact number. But employees like to see some longevity. I think they like to know that their jobs are also safe, for a period of time. And I think that this contract has done that. I think it's been good for the employees that work under him. They've expressed their support to me for him.
Well, I think you've done something else too, because the city, I mean, you've done a good job, and this economic development is there, and our future looks bright. And the thing is, the developers that are coming in, they really aren't interested in certain, we'll say, councilors or what have you. They're not really. They're They want to have a good rapport with the council,
Right.
but they don't work with the council. They work with the city manager. And it's for developers to have somebody that they can rely on and somebody that will be there the next year because they work with them, they develop a process, they develop a direction to go in, so they know the next year, the year later, that manager will be there to facilitate whatever.
Like the employees, same
Yeah.
same type of thing.
Exactly.
There's got to be some longevity, some
But you've
feeling
done,
of.
but as
you
a
know,
council, you've done that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing for the city to have
Yeah.
some stability, for development, for employees, for.
Continuity is
Yeah.
one of the words.
I think that's one of the
and
issues in the city
whatnot.
that we've had. We kind of have gone,
No,
back and forth for so long with,
but it's we got two directions. You're talking about the employees. I'm talking about the developers.
Right.
They're the same type of people. They want continuity.
Yeah, like that's a good word.
So what about the main thrust of Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲? There were two people who voted against it, Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲 and Councilor Robinson. Councilor Robinson had told me one day his concern was this should be done behind closed doors. Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲,
Usually we want everything done in public, so that's
Well,
you can't kind of win on that one.
I'm
right?
a
Like,
transparency guy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think this is taxpayer money. You should be. I think all negotiations
when it was
should be.
Lapoli, we wanted it in public, but when it's the manager's contract, we want it in private. So I mean,
So, Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲 also brought up the fact, well, listen, we still don't have a performance review. We don't have the new way of doing the performance review. So how do we evaluate the manager and fairly to give those increases? You serve on that personnel committee,
Right.
and you responded.
right, and we did ask that specific question whether or not there was any language that we needed to put into his contract to be able to have a real performance-based evaluation tool, and the city solicitor responded no. Now I do understand what Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲 is saying was that what if there's things that we want to require him as far as goals and he doesn't go along, I guess, then that could be a negotiation point. So I agree with him on that. But I don't see that as an
But
issue.
don't you think you can negotiate that at any time?
Right, and I think I don't see
You know
the
what I'm saying?
manager saying, no, I'm not going to do what my councilors, my bosses want me to do. I'm not going to agree to those goals. I mean, I just don't see
Never
that
gonna
happening.
happen.
And the point of the goals, if you had listened to the Collins Institute, was that they were going to be mutual goals, shared goals with the manager. So this wasn't like an adversarial type relationship. This was, we're going to sit down and we're going to make real goals that you're
Well,
going
that's
to
the only
meet.
way it works.
And then there is the language in the contract that he needs to meet 75% of those goals. So if we didn't want him to receive the raise for whatever reason, we can do that. So I didn't think it was a real concern.
So when I chatted with the mayor leading into my show yesterday, where I was talking a little bit about the manager's contract, I was asking him, why not go into executive session? I asked him some specifics about the terms just to make sure what I was reading was correct. But he said to me, gave me an interesting quote. He framed it as, it really is a simple vote that you took last night. In his mind, you either support the administration and the direction the city is heading in, vote yes. If you don't, vote no. Did you see that? Is that how you framed it in your mind?
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's
I would say so.
do you believe the two
you could do
councilors
the-
that voted no are saying they don't support the administration and the direction the city is going in?
well, I'm not sure what other reason at that point that you wouldn't support it. I mean, you already know that the other councilors, had voted to move forward in this direction. I mean, have you ever been part of a vote where, you didn't support somebody, but at the end you did a yes vote kind of to
Correct.
show support for that person, that you support them?
Yeah, they called it Colley Stadium back in 2017 and 2018.
We'll just
We're not going
He
there.
never voted yes in
we're not
2017,
we're
but
not going
Rodney and Rita voted yes in 2018. I just want to point that out.
That's the one conversation I'm not having today is Collins
You know what?
Stadium.
I think I'll pay for some time to have my own time on this program
You're more than welcome to buy advertising as well.
to give my defense,
Bill Samaras Political Consulting Corporation.
whatever. But the thing is, I think you're right. The issue is the votes were there, okay, and at some point you have to say, well, the thing is, I wish it was done at a better time, or this or that,
A
or
different
whatever.
way, a different whatever, but-
or whatever. You can bring up. You have the right to bring up, but it's a fait accompli. it was over, and Tom has done, I believe, a good job. He's been doing what's been expected of him. As a former councilor, looking at what you've achieved, I think there are a lot of good things going on. So it comes down to you've got to build a team, and the thing is, you're either going to be a member of the team or you're not.
Right.
You can be critical, but
you absolutely
but at some
yeah.
point, you have to just say, okay, I've made my points, fine.
And there are
You
things
have my
that
vote.
still need to happen.
But
We
you have my
understand
vote.
that
I
there are
understand
things that
that.
still need to happen.
We'll
But
vote
do you
to
think he's
support it.
capable of making those things happen? Yes, I
Yeah.
do. So you support him.
It's the way. I mean, to me, it's good politics.
So clearly you hadn't watched my podcast yet from yesterday because you weren't aware of my advice that John Dakota thankfully took. But I did wonder, because when you voted back in, it was the end of February, right, to actually have the mayor negotiate a 3-year extension with the manager, it was a 7-4 vote. And I was wondering how the 4 councilors, 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 𝐏𝐿 but also 𝐿𝐵𝐼𝐻 and Wayne Jeunesse, would vote last night based on what you just kind of described, that, all right, well, the battle over whether to give him the extension was fought. The vote last night is about whether the contract itself is fair, is amenable, is a good contract for the city, fair to everybody involved. And Councilor Jeunesse was not there, so he didn't vote. Councilor Noon voted yes, despite the fact that back in February, he too said this isn't the time to be doing it.
Right.
But
Which I understand.
The battle was over, and he said,
but that
okay,
battle's
it's a
over.
fair contract.
But that's what he did say. He said, "What I see is fair to the city and to the city manager. You have my vote."
Yeah.
So
Vesna. You're talking.
Vesna.
Yeah, that was a fair thing to do, I think.
Do we know how Councilor Jeunesse would have voted?
No.
just to close the circle completely. Has anybody talked to Councilor Jeunesse?
I don't know, but
I'll text him this morning.
Get his- get his
what I've
unofficial
heard
vote.
was he was going to support it.
Okay.
That's
I'm going to guess a lot of the times he and Councilor Noon, especially on issues like this, will kind of vote together.
Together.
They're like-minded, I think. And so my hunch is he would have voted yes. But all right. The auditor's contract. First of all, does the auditor technically have a contract or a what they call
An appointment.
an
Yeah, she's
appointment, a
appointed.
3-year appointment or whatever?
She has an appointment.
She has an appointment.
Yeah, she
Okay.
doesn't have a contract.
All right.
She wanted a contract, though.
She did ask for a contract,
Yes,
and she's
yes.
gotten the contract.
Yes, she has.
Is that pay, was it 184,000?
Yeah,
I had
185.
Okay, I had done a little digging around some spots, and I found that, my town, Chelmsford, is about 165, I think.
Yeah,
But was it 160?
160.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are other towns similar to Lowell, and you don't want to compare to,
I mean,
to
is that-
Cambridge, but Waltham, I think, is the sugar daddy of them all,
yeah,
right?
188 came from Waltham. Yeah.
So she's in a fair range, and I will tell
And I
you,
did my own digging too. I mean, it's Springfield, Cambridge, Somerville. They were all comparable.
Yeah,
to,
you mentioned that last time.
and,
all
and
comparable.
look at the trouble we had in the audit department.
We went through, I think,
Getting-
3 of them in like a
Yes.
year, I think,
Yeah,
or something
getting
like
somebody
that.
to
So
say,
it's kind of crazy.
and getting somebody that was competent to do that. So
yeah.
I will tell you, there is somebody in that building who is very fond of the entire leadership team, but has told me flat out she is the most competent, most valuable employee in that building in City Hall.
Yeah.
No disrespect to anybody who
That's
works
not-
outside
no.
of City Hall,
Yeah.
but
That
I've been
doesn't
told she
that doesn't
is.
surprise
that's-
me.
She's the gold standard.
But that's the role. I mean, it's overview, oversight. I mean,
Head
the council
accountant.
needs that.
Auditor. She's, I mean,
Yeah.
she's, yeah.
Is there any concern
Payroll.
that, well, now she's beholden to the city manager, who's her job is to review the manager's budgets and some of
No.
his accounting?
No.
She's not beholden to it because he got her
Kelly's
a
a
nice
pro-
pay increase.
Kelly's a professional. I mean, she,
And what's the difference? Before, it's the city solicitor that would work that contract out. Who does the city solicitor work for? City manager. So what the city manager
yeah,
doing?
it's all, they're
what's
all
the
tied together on the
they're-
day-to-day. They
talk
work
about-
together.
you know,
yeah.
We've
the
talked
ties
about this
there.
in prior weeks.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, there is no solicitor that's got into a contract negotiation and gone against the wishes of the manager in
think-
negotiating
do you
that
think-
contract. That's my. If you know different, now's a good time to talk.
I haven't heard that.
All right. All right, the other area that got a little bit controversial, and I will say that even though I supported the motion by Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲, I would have voted yes with Councilor 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐲. There was some legitimate points brought up about the lack of communication, both with the delegation coming to the council and informing them, because one of the co-sponsors of the legislation, Tara Hahn, first-year rep from the 18th Middlesex District, and also 17th Middlesex Representative Vanna Howard. She signed on to the bill as a supporter, although she wasn't the co-sponsor of the bill. There was some back and forth. The council, I heard from people off the council floor that said to me, the council should have, spoken to the delegation first before making that motion. Others said to me, and some councilors last night said on the floor, delegation should have come to us first and talked about that since it was going to affect Lowell. Two former city council, well, a former city councilor, and a current city councilor. What's the right? How should that situation, that bill, have been handled when it came to Lowell discussing it in political circles?
Well, I think it would be nice to speak with the council about this type of motion that affects us, that takes away the our local authority, our local power. We've seen it happen with the ADU debate already. I think there's definitely a divide between the way the council feels representing the population in Lowell and what the representatives believe. I think there's a big divide there. The push for housing, ADU expansion, this new bill to allow churches to build multifamily by right on their properties, and what we're hearing from residents, which is that they're, the density, the parking issues, So I think there's two different mindsets going on right now in the city, and I don't think there's a lot of communication about it. So
No, that's correct. You're correct on that. And actually, they got a different vote. I would say. You can get a more liberal vote for this representative or the senator.
Thank you for saying that. You couched it very nicely. Yeah. To me, the delegation has gone significantly left in recent years,
agree,
minus perhaps Rodney Elliott in the 16th district, whereas the council, to me, has gone significantly right, and nowhere do you see that in the battle over housing, homelessness, and what I call the nonprofit
not
industrial
too far right, Teddy. Not too far right.
You don't want me to paint you with that?
Yeah, don't
but Elliott and Kennedy both were councilors, significant councilors in the city of Lowell. So I think they've carried that into their legislation, and the others did not serve in the city. So there's a different type of thinking, but. The thing is, I think what happened last night, communication broke down between the delegation and the council, and as a new rep, with a bill like that, I think they should have come before the council to ask, we're thinking of this because it does affect the city of Lowell. That's significant.
But you ask for an answer you don't want to hear. I guess that's the.
But the issue is sending a vote in against them. Then you communication actually breaks down, because they could do that in turn. If Lowell said, we want to send in a letter, we'd like to see the delegation or the state legislature go in this direction. But
we have asked. We have asked them to come in and meet with us. We asked around the housing issue, the homeless to come in and have a discussion with us, and that never.
Well, the thing is, it's got to. What I'm saying is, it's got to be worked on.
Yeah,
that's all. We can play the blame game. It's your fault. It's your fault. Or maybe it's nobody's fault. It's just the way the situation has come out, and it's time to, work on how do we bring the delegation together? How do we make things work?
So I will say, I did touch base with State Rep Tara Hahn, one of the co-sponsors of the bill. He said he would come in. They're in the middle of budget discussions, so he needs another week and a half or so, but we're going to try to get a date after that. I'll invite Representative Howard in here as well, so they can kind of talk about that, although now you guys may have ruined it. They may need to talk to you guys first on the council. But so as I did a little bit more digging about this, I I wanted to actually see the bill itself because there's a little confusion about whether it's just churches or other nonprofit entities. And as I typed yes in God's backyard legislation into the Google search bar, all sorts of weird links came up. None of them related to Massachusetts. California.
I read all the California.
There is a national movement for this, and it was pointed out at last night's meeting too, and I'm glad it was. This reminds me a lot of the taxes on or raising the minimum wage for tip servers, question 5 in the last election, which was a national movement, and then they start flooding into as many states as they can. And generally, the more liberal states tend to jump on it. Now, Massachusetts said no to the question 5 one. How will Massachusetts react to this one, which is a national leftist movement?
Yeah, I did. I actually did the same thing. I started researching what this was about, and I think what surprises me, like you just said, California, Massachusetts, is it ironic to you, like the God in my backyard? Like, is that ironic to you at all? Like that they're trying to use religious, usually they would not ever want that to be part of, we don't want prayer in our meetings.
That political ideology, they want no part of God in anything. Yet, well, if we can use God to our advantage in changing zoning.
Housing and zoning changes.
But the ultimate goal, and there's some kind of national committee or whatever called Yes in My Backyard, they are cheering the elimination of single-family zoning in certain communities, and I believe California has eliminated it completely now. So is this, let's just have it in churches, is this really the Trojan horse?
No, this is the elimination of single-family zoning.
We're going to try to eliminate single-family zoning, and we're just going to get that horse inside the gated walls first.
That's the end goal, I believe, is the elimination of single-family zoning.
That's why, I mean, I would have voted against this, this bill, and I'd go to Boston to speak against it. So I'm just talking about the idea that we just have to make sure the delegation and the council work together. That's my only concern.
So I'm hoping you can clear this up. I did get a little confused because when I watch the meetings, I'm also uploading stuff, but I've got 2 kids running around driving nuts. But there was a motion, a substitute motion put up first to try to invite the delegation in to speak about it. Was that defeated?
Yeah.
Did the council last night say, we don't even want to speak to the delegation about this before we go ahead and make our vote?
Well, I think we wanted to move forward with this opposing the motion. I mean, that's what we heard from residents. That's what, people in my district are against, as Bill mentioned, in his district as well. I mean, so you wanted to show support for the motion. And I don't think, can we still have a discussion? Yes, we could still have a discussion, but we wanted to move forward with the motion.
Actually, I think it's important that you do have a discussion of a simple reason. To me, it's a scary bill at this point.
But that's the direction that...
Yeah.
We already saw it with the ADUs. It already got pushed down to us. The MBTA district already pushed down to us. So this is another push to eliminate local power and using churches. Like I said, I didn't agree with that at all.
So is this a good time to bring up that the governor wants to eliminate Article 97 to allow windmills and off the shore in the Cape? Remember Article 97? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Senator Kennedy, we've talked about the House delegation.
Yeah.
But Senator Kennedy has not. I looked there. That's why I was Google searching. I was trying to find what the Senate version of this bill is. Because, by the way, it's not new. It's been proposed in the 23-24 session as well. That's how I stumbled across the California stuff. Do we know if Senator Kennedy, because he tends to, his voting record as he's been in the Senate, far more left than it was when he was on the city council. And yet, one of the speakers last night vehemently against it, Lynn Daly, I recognize as she's his campaign treasurer. So she's part of Senator Kennedy's inner circle. So does that offer a hint into how Senator Kennedy feels about God in the backyard? Because we know he didn't want the high school in his backyard.
Oh, gosh.
God.
We're going there. Staying away from that.
Does he want God in his backyard?
Can't talk.
Can't speak for Senator Kennedy. So. But I think it shows.
Senator Kennedy can speak for himself.
But he doesn't have the bill proposed by himself, right, under
No.
that name or anything.
No, he
So I
doesn't.
think,
No, he
I
doesn't.
mean, that alone says something, I
Yeah.
think. But
But the bigger picture here, the discord between the delegation and the council, I see him, he's the dean of the delegation, both in length of service, but also being in the Senate, he's one of 40 as opposed to one of 160 in the House. So to me, if somebody's going to take a leadership role and get the two units, the city council, to work in unison with the delegation, I feel like it has to be him with maybe a little assist from, as you mentioned, Rodney Elliott, because
well,
he's on both jobs now.
Councilor Elliott has been very responsive, I think, to the council. So.
All right. To be continued on that one. Lastly, I want to talk about because you do have to go to work, and we've taken up a good portion of time, and I certainly can't bait you guys into a high school debate 8 years later. I'll wait till the $20 million bill comes in from Mr. Dowd. And I do want to set up Mr. Dowd next to Bill Samaras. I think that would be that would break some viewership
Bill
record.
could handle that.
You're very fond of his work.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. You had a motion last night. Revitalize Central Street from Gorham to Elm. To me, that's a nice way of saying, can we find a way to make that area so vibrant that we move what's going on at the food store across from the housing authority right up to the old courthouse? Can we revitalize it?
This is Central Street.
Oh, Central Street.
Central Street.
Oh, so yeah, that's Central Street. Yeah, Central Street from
not Gorham.
From Gorham. What is it from
Central
Gorham to Elm?
Elm is through Hosford Square, Central Street, like the business district.
Did I misread your bill? What streets are you trying to? What streets are you trying to revitalize?
Central.
Central. Okay, but from where?
From Gorham
Okay, where?
to Elm. So not with a food pantry, not with a. You're talking about Johnny's, right?
Yeah,
Not that
Johnny's,
That's
Jerry's,
Gorham Street.
whatever.
That's all Gorham.
Okay.
So I'm talking about Central.
Right,
Just the business district,
but where's
like Valentina's.
Where does
like
Gorham to Elm begin and end? Elm is up by the courthouse, right? Just past the courthouse. Do I have the right street or no?
No, Elm is Hosford Square. Talking about the other. The
all
way,
right.
Central Street, down Central Street.
Okay. All right. So that's your district?
That's my district.
Not Councilor Genesis?
That's my district.
Ah, okay. So
I go over to Elm Street.
what's the vision? What would you like to see happen there?
The vision is a pedestrian-friendly area, an area where the businesses have some infrastructure that other areas have had, like Bridge Street, over in Westford Street, the business area there. I've had businesses there that have told me that they're having trouble with their insurances being canceled because the sidewalk is unsafe outside their business. So I just really want them to take a look at that area. I feel like it's kind of back central to me. It just seems like such a left behind area, whether it's the parks or the business district. And I really want some focus to go there. So that's.
But those little business districts, they're important to the city.
And they've been there for generations, these businesses.
Absolutely.
They're family-owned businesses that have stayed there.
And not a major effort can really help them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So, and there is grant money out there because it's an area that's low income, so there's some grant money that can be looked at. So
But you're right about the sidewalks, things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, insurance for all businesses is becoming a major issue, and it actually was the sidewalk thing came up in my father's business as well,
really?
with an insurance company, and luckily it was an easy fix. They didn't have to redo entire sidewalks, but it is.
This was a fix. They actually did their own repair, I guess, out front to the sidewalk, and
the business
did. Yeah. So that's
Anything else from last night's meeting that?
Trying to think if there's anything else exciting.
It's quiet.
I mean, there's going to be an outdoor market. I thought that was interesting. A couple more pop-up shops that are going to happen at Hamilton Canal District. So that's an interesting one with partnership with Mosaic Lowell. I think you got most of the big highlights.
So before I let you go, are you optimistic about the direction of the Hamilton Canal Innovation District now, based on the changes you believe that replacing the Polly companies with Cabot and was CCF?
Right.
Cabot,
I mean, they're a
folks.
reputable, well-known developer. I mean, we know, I think, what we're getting, at least this time. I think we're going to see some action happening.
And you will have some commercial space.
And then with Link, with Draper coming in now, and I think there's some movement, which is more than we've had for for the
There
last.
is movement, yeah.
Is the
15 years,
Draper
so.
that's being talked about for Hamilton Canal the Draper from Link or Councilor 𝐿𝐥𝐲's friend? Was it Eric Draper? He said.
No, he didn't say that, did he?
I asked him. I said, "Oh, so you're confirming the Draper's?"
Oh,
going in?"
yeah,
He goes,
no.
"Oh, no, I was talking about," and he mentioned
No.
his. I have a friend, and I think he said Eric Draper.
No, I was
Maybe
actually
not
referring
Eric
to the Draper starting at the Link
right.
project, but hopefully we have some overflow that happens as well. So, but I'm not breaking executive sessions.
Sure.
I'm sure.
No one watches this. Don't worry. You can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up
It's
there.
just between us, that's all.
yeah. Just friends sitting here in the studio.
And you sure I can't bait you into a quick 5-minute high school discussion?
No, we'll have it someday.
What's the date that Mr. Dowd is coming back with that number? June what?
Yeah, June. I don't know. June we'll have, and hopefully that includes the oldest building. What's the name of the oldest building?
Coburn Hall.
Coburn Hall. Thank you. Just escaped my memory, but yeah, hopefully we have that as well because they only did 1 or 2 borings in that building, which is just that's what blows my mind.
But
I
no,
can't
no.
understand it. I mean, it makes no sense to me. And when we were walking through, I did ask why there were only a couple borings, and they said, "Oh, well, school was in session."
No, and
really?
But the thing is,
They couldn't do
They
the
couldn't
borings
do
for
it.
school vacation
Yeah,
week?
I mean, it's just
but at the SBA meeting, for the meeting representing the MSBA, he did say and this was, I don't think it was caught by everybody that was there at that particular meeting. He did say anybody that knows anything about construction, 1922 building was built during a time when regulations weren't followed, and you'd know there'd be problems.
so you knew
So
there
if
was
you-
shoddy construction
so-
happening, and you still did one
I'm
test.
sitting there. Wait a second. If you know, yet you still had only one boring in 32,000 square feet. I mean,
But they said it was standard practice, like construction practice, the testing, and I'm still waiting
No,
to hear. Where's that standard? Like, I need to read where that standard says that one boring in a 30,000 square foot area.
it's just like
So they drove like a scissor lift on it. That's what happened, and the floor collapsed when they were doing construction. That's when they realized that.
Yeah.
That's what they told us during
But-
the tour.
but that's a joke. What
is
they're
a
saying.
joke.
I mean, because the thing is, he said the building will have problems, and only one. That's a minimum. As long as you do so.
Do you think
what
they
said
wanted to do the minimum to
Yes.
have it downtown? I mean, do you think that could be part
No.
of the issue?
Oh,
No, I'm sorry, but I mean,
No,
you know.
Well,
no.
I
And-
find
and
it hard to
and-
believe this level of incompetence.
Oh, now we're talking.
that only
We
puts
shouldn't
2
go into the
borings
calling
in.
thing.
That's my whole thing. Is there a level of incompetence, or were there directions from up above in the MSBA that said, "Don't look too hard"? Like kind of look I used to have a guy who used to give me an inspection sticker. We called him "Look the Other Way, Ray."
No. Even that's far fetched for me.
All right.
I mean,
And the only reason I said, how do you explain 1 or 2 borings? I mean, it just
No,
and the
but if you
support
look-
beams, like Councilor 𝐿𝐥𝐲 said, they missed giant support beams up in the ceiling. They had to run the plumbing, like the electrical, up and underneath
you
them.
have to look up.
I mean,
Council.
that's the competency of the company. But the thing is,
But
like
this
in
is who we
construct-
entrust with the
Wait a minute.
MSBA. Like this is,
Remember all of the problems about how many bathrooms were in the gymnasium?
yeah.
What they said was we met the minimum standards.
Right. No, that I
established by-
understand,
I
the
mean,
design
but
standards.
it's the same thing. These are the standards for the industry. All you have to do at least is one boring. That knowing that there's problems.
But if you look online, that's not what it says as the standard. So it's kind of interesting.
We
but-
have the makings of a good future podcast.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
just
talk.
saying.
Maybe we'll talk Collie someday in the future. So, I mean, I definitely the walkability, the central location. I was always in support of that.
There'd be more.
I just wanted new construction.
There'd be more problems at Cawley than there are at the high school.
We'll never know, unfortunately.
Yeah, fortunately, maybe in 20 years. No, I'm sorry.
All right. Councilor Kim Scott, thank you
Thank
for
you.
agreeing to come on in. Former Mayor Bill Samaras, thank you as always. You're coming back next week to announce your
I
candidacy?
got to think about this.
You're coming back to announce your
Yes.
city council
I wanna
candidacy?
do
It was great having you here, Bill.
Well, I'm going to just give you a hint. If you go to InsideLowell.com a little bit later on this morning, you may see somebody who I think was interested in running for school committee. Maybe he's going to be announcing a council run pretty soon. I'm just putting that out there. We call that a tease. Anyway, thank you, Councilor Scott.
I don't think so.
Former Mayor Samaras, and it's not even you this time. Thank you as well for tuning in to the Daily Pulse. This is the Wednesday, April 23rd edition. We'll be back tomorrow with Matt Lalatcher, the initial victim of the Panos bomb, as my friends and I have dubbed it. We'll talk to him lots to talk about Colley Stadium renovation, parks and boards and Little League fields and all this fun stuff. Lots of economic development as well. So we'll talk to him tomorrow. Leslie Boder will be here on Friday. We got all sorts of stuff we're working on for next week as well. So tune in every day. It drops at noon on InsideLowell.com and on our YouTube channel. It's the Daily Pulse here on Inside Lowell. As we like to say, Inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, stay safe, everybody. Enjoy this beautiful spring day, and I'll catch you on the other side.